Good morning, everyone. It's 7 a.m.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Glad you're here this morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board of Directors meeting for May 29th, 2024. First item on our agenda is public comments. Understanding is that no one has signed up for comments. Thank you. Next item on to consider approval of the minutes of the April 24th meeting. Have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is to receive current project updates and discuss possible future projects. We're not limited to review of current projects, construction, review of projects and design, review of future project. And I'm also going to read in number 4. David is going to present that as well. Review a presentation regarding Santa Fe community market design plans. David?
All right. Good morning, everyone. We switched it around on you a little bit so I could be a little more efficient. A few project updates on projects that we have in construction and then some that are about to go out to bid. Currently, we've got 3 projects in construction. The Outer Loop North Phase 3, we talked about that a little bit at the last meeting. That project's about 25% complete and still on schedule to be to a final completion for spring of 2026. And probably a good thing to note, which everybody here is well aware of. Our current weather pattern and situation has not been kind to any of our construction projects. Contractors just get started again, rain comes and kind of shuts things down. So really appreciate all the effort that our contractors that are doing these projects are delivering and continue to try to keep these things on schedule. Outer Loop North 3, like I said, is still on schedule, even despite the weather patterns that we've had. And that's really the case for most of these projects. But that one is scheduled to be complete early spring of 2026. Working on the east side, but making really good progress. The grading for the east side is expected to be complete at the end of this month. So they are very close right now to the east side of the railroad for that to be complete. And then the next big item that'll start in end of May, first part of June, will be the drill shafts for the bridge itself. So bridge work is about to get started. So we're excited to see that happen. And then they're not very far from moving over to the west side and starting that portion of the project. So good news there. We're on schedule and things are progressing really good on the east side and about to move to the west. Downtown City Center Phase 2, that project has been more hampered by the weather simply because downtown Temple, much like all of downtowns, typically you don't have underground drainage systems. And so really no place for the water to go, especially when we open up the roads. They can pump it out, but it is a very big challenge when they continually get storms that come in and rain that comes in for the projects. That project's about 38% complete and still expecting late fall of this year. Currently working on 2nd Street, and you can see that we're starting to shut things down. Central is starting to open up for us, and so very soon we're hoping we can get to 4th and Central and make all that work. We have encountered some groundwater there, and we do anticipate that we'll be bringing forward to this board a potential change order for a French drain to take down to 4th Street to relieve that groundwater. And groundwater's been very significant. It's almost, I told the contractor we had to drill a well and harvest the water. It's just amazing the groundwater we've had downtown. Last project we have in construction is East West Gateway. It's about 55% complete. I'm sure y'all are seeing that driving into downtown. Moving along very well. Completion of that is fall of this year. So it's starting to get pretty close. We started placing the pads for the monument art on both sides of the interstate. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be really exciting to see those go in. And then we're starting final grading, topsoil, and electrical. And as soon as that is complete, we'll start bringing it. You'll start seeing the real stuff, which will be the landscaping. And there's some pretty impressive landscaping that'll go in there. So that's really going to start to take shape very quickly. And again, fall of this year, that one will be complete.
Is that irrigated?
It is, yes.
So if we put it in the landscaping in the summer, it's going to be okay.
Yes, and they'll actually probably push that too. So irrigation will go in before we start to actually put the landscaping in. It's probably going to be more towards the fall before they hit that. But even if and they're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. But even if they do put that in with the irrigation, we'll just have to, make sure that we irrigate it to the need that it has. Unfortunately, the building's completely full, so we can do that. And, but yeah, irrigation is in there. A couple of
How about cameras? Are you gonna want cameras at those sites?
cameras for in East-West Gateway. There are not cameras in the project. And that is in TxDOT right away, so. A couple of projects that are about to go out to bid. Our Lorraine Avenue project, we talked about that a little bit last time. We're going to begin bidding that in June and expect to bring that back to this board in July. OPC for that is 4.6 million, and we've got 5 million in the funding line, so we're feeling really good about that. It's a very, very clean project, so I expect we'll have lots of interest in it. That's the second phase of Lorraine that we did for Temple Green Data, and so that'll complete the roadway and all the drainage and a little bit more utilities out there from Panda Drive all the way to Bob White.
What's the duration of construction once it starts?
On Lorraine,
Uh-huh.
it'll be about 270 days.
Okay.
That's what's in the schedule, is 270 days, 9 months. And again, that may one that if the weather doesn't get them, they can beat that. The beauty of that project is it's extremely clean. No traffic to deal with. You've got your own space. TDC owns a ton of land out there where they can store materials. So once they get out there, there's really nothing hampering them. There's no, they're not dealing with daily traffic or anything of that nature, and they just have a full site to go out there and do the work. And the last project, which we're actually going to have a little presentation on, is Santa Fe Community Market. This one is actually scheduled to advertise this coming Sunday, June 2nd. And we'll go through some of the items on it. Don't know why it does that. Your PowerPoint doesn't like my circles. Anyway, it's located downtown. And so that's the view looking at Avenue C and 2nd Street and the perspective of what we anticipate this looking like. Again, 3.5 million, and that is our OPC for the project. And we do have some alternatives to ensure that we get there, and we will be bringing those to the board. This one is, as you can see, a competitive sealed proposal. And so what that means is it's not a straight bid, and the city has more flexibility in the proposals that they receive and negotiating with the bidder. There's criteria on it, but they don't necessarily have to take the low price, but price is a major factor in the proposal. A couple of the plan sheets before we get to the good stuff. The demolition plan, and when we look at the perspectives and the renderings, this will make more sense, but basically we're keeping the shell of Temple Feed, and we've got a lot of demo to the east. The retail shell is going to be a main component of this, and that again is that main Temple Feed area. Temple Feed is about 3,400 square feet, and we're going to make this where it is very flexible as well, a shell space, so the city has the opportunity to either use that space or potentially lease it out. There'll be quite a bit of improvements in there and a lot of facade improvements to really enhance that look. And again, you'll see that here in just a second. The main pavilion, this will be really the community market. Open air perspective will illustrate that as well. This is about 6,600 square feet, about 110 by 60. So really good, nice open space for that community market. Super excited about what this is going to bring and tie into all the other improvements that we've done along Avenue C down there with the MLK Festival grounds all the way to Santa Fe Plaza. Some floor plans. One of the other things I wanted to put this in here for is there's a historic rock building out there, and we did everything we could to preserve that. Structurally, it wasn't ideal, but we've utilized that the best we could, capping some of that off, and so we can preserve some of that historic structure that's out there. It's really going to be a stage pavilion, about 1,000 square feet. That's what we're able to do, but we were excited we're able to save that and utilize it for the final project. So here's just kind of an overall layout. We will improve the existing parking lot for Temple Feed, of course, bringing utilities in there, a fire lane and access road along the south side near the railroad that'll go back and tie into 4th Street, and all the improvements that we did for the parking lot and the staff and storage building. So once we get completed, going to be a great facility for the purpose. So here's the concept. So you can kind of see the existing, let me see if this will work.
Doesn't show up on the screen. Do you want the mouse?
I think we can talk about it. So y'all, everybody's probably pretty familiar with this. So the shell space is at the existing Temple feed facility, the one that's on the left. And we feed that straight into the community market and over into existing facilities. We'll end up with a tree garden and a lawn area, performance lawn area that'll feed into that stage area. And all of that feeds into that existing parking lot and staff and storage facility that we've already completed. So once this is done, you'll really have a complete facility out there. Again, great thing for the festival grounds and for this whole corridor. So street view of that, the rock building or stage that I was talking about, you can get a really good picture of that right now. Aaron actually found the red letters, the Santa Fe letters. That is one of our alternates. We feel like the numbers that'll come in for that will be really good. We were really excited when she found that because we feel like that can be a great amenity for this whole site. But again, this is more on the 4th Street side, looking back to the west, give you a pretty good idea of how this is going to look with that existing shell space feeding into the market itself, and then the stage pavilion with the tree garden and the lawn space. So there's the pavilion lawn, again, looking back from it, the stage area, and then into the community market. We do have space in there for a mural that will be on an existing building. So that for this project, that will be cleaned up. We did reach out to a few muralists, and that was actually one of the murals that they sent us. But we'll have the opportunity to put whatever we want.
Is that artificial turf?
So we do one of the alternates is artificial turf. We were nervous about the 3.5 million for the disaster that happened last week. Certainly feel like with that prices are going to increase, but we'll see how everything comes back in. Again, with the competitive steel proposal, we have lots of flexibility in negotiating with the successful contractor, the contractor that we choose, and then we put lots of alternates in there so that we can make sure that we hit that number. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David.
Well,
it's gonna be a great addition to downtown. Finishing off that section of it. Okay, the next item, number 3, consider amending the tax increment financing to investment zone number 1 financing project plans, which includes adjusting revenue expenditures for property tax rebate grants, infrastructure reimbursements, and public improvement for years fiscal 2024 to 2062. Tyler, finance chair.
Yeah, Tracy and I talked about this. This has to do with the EDC project that is currently underway, and we're adjusting our financing plan to accommodate that, reflect some additional revenue, and then a couple other small projects kind of lumped into that. Tracy?
Yes, thank you. As Tyler said, this amendment, the main focus is to adjust the financing plan to account for the EDA prospect that is currently under negotiations with TEDC in the city. We'll estimate revenues from the capital investment, estimate expenditures associated with project incentives. And then we do have some line item funding, add $375,000 for Crossroads Park for land clearing. And then TISD, we have a property purchase transfer with them. We're adding additional monies for half of the survey costs that was required as part of the closing conditions to have the tracks platted. Also adding some additional money to a property tax rebate for HEB. That is based on an agreement that was approved several years ago. And 2024 is the last year of that rebate. And then public improvements unallocated in FY 2024, we're adding a net 4.1 million to that. And that's the difference between, I'll show it in a few minutes, the sale of land to the economic development prospect, And then in FY 28, we're taking 1.25 million of that to, for the first year of to get ready for the funding of the, public improvements. With the, incentives related to that project. So just, I know this is tiny print, but just an overview of the capital investment from the economic development prospect. The total in, capital investment planned is 110 million. 41 million of that is real property, 69 million is estimated to be personal property. And it shows in their construction period, we assume 36 months. And each year they're adding, you can see their adds to real and personal. The project incentives with the current negotiations, the reinvestment zone will receive 4.5 million from the sale of land, and that land is part of the incentive is that's sold to them at a discount. Infrastructure reimbursement for a gas line, $2 million, and that will be paid in 4 installments beginning in 2029. Public roadway extension, it's extending the road on site. That reimbursement is 2.5 million. And then property tax grant rebate is based on it, similar to an abatement for the real property with the city of Temple, years 1 through 5 at 100%. And then beginning in year 6, declining from 90% down to 50% in year 10. The same with personal and the same for Bell County.
Tracy, before you jump off, or you might be going to, can you kind of talk to your estimation of the real and personal is based on their budget, but I assume you discount it a little bit in the event that the tax appraisal district comes in a little bit light.
Yes, when we when we work closely with Adrian TEDC, when a prospect or EDA announces what their capital investment is going to be, we take the personal property and we depreciate it by a schedule that the appraisal district would, based on what year life that property has. And then we take 80% of what they're planned to invest, because seldomly does it equal 100% when they go out to do the appraisal. So it is, and as each year when we update our financing plan and as it gets closer to being done, we adjust those numbers too. But to start off, it's 80% of the investment.
Thank you.
The company is also planning for a phase 2 capital investment, and that would be an additional 150 million for a total capital investment of 260 million, 113.5 real, 146.5 of personal, and for the total investment, and job creations 205 total. But for this financing plan amendment, we do not consider any of the capital investment for phase 2. And there's phase 2 is also discussed. There's no infrastructure type reimbursements, but it would, if they do meet, go ahead and invest this phase 2, it would have the same property tax rebates as phase 1. Looking at the increment revenues based on this investment, again, we show these starting to come online as partial completion in FY 2026 for a total of $179,000. And then in year 2028, when they're 100% complete, the increment would be $919,000. And then the property tax rebates are showed to begin in year 2029. And the far right column shows the net increment. Any questions there? And again, if you look back at the investment, the real property for phase 1 is is 41 million and personal 69 million. And looking here at the, just a summary of the, it's included on the master plan projects. We're showing in 2024, a total funding for projects of 119.5 million. The total through 2030, based on the current financing plan, is close to 250 million. And within your package, you do have a financing plan, a summary financing plan, and then the master plan project funding. Brenda, do you want to make any comments about the timing of the infrastructure reimbursements?
In relation to the
Uh,
change from the packet, yeah, so we've continued to work with the client, and so I think what Janice sent out to you, was that Monday or Tuesday? I'm sorry, this has been a crazy week, so I don't even know what day it is. But we have continued to refine that with the client, and so there is an adjustment this morning that we're asking you to consider from what was in your packet that was delivered a few days ago, and it simply moves back the infrastructure reimbursement back from what we had originally calculated would be due in fiscal year 2029 will actually be due based on the terms of the EDA in fiscal year 2028. So Tracy has made that adjustment, and so that's what we would ask you to consider today. The property tax rebates would still begin in fiscal year 2029 base, and this, as Tracy mentioned, is all based on estimates and assumptions, so it's actually tied to when they actually complete construction, but based on the information that we've received from the client, that's our best guess at this time.
Thank you.
There's also, while it's not related to the financing plan amendment, I'll just mention for the board's knowledge that there's also an employment commitment as part of this economic development agreement with the client. So this will be a project that also creates some very well-paying jobs for the community. They're committing to 100 in phase 1 and 105 in phase 2.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? We'll consider this item. If not, we'll be voting on item number 3 as it's previously read in. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, have a second? Second?
Could you all just clarify that that motion is based on the infrastructure reimbursement starting in fiscal year 2028? Assuming that that is what you're moving.
Yeah, my motion is for what Bryn said.
Thank you.
Second. Here we go. Is that sufficient?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So any questions or discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next time, receive a project update from Temple Economic Development Corporation. I don't, Rand, that you have one for that?
I know.
Okay, then you're up then. See, you need to update.
I could try, but I wouldn't do as good as Adrian. So good morning, everyone. Our focus this past week and what will be our focus for the next few weeks is obviously recovery from the devastating storm event that happened last week. Good news is today we have deployed our storm recovery debris management contractor. They're beginning work in earnest this morning. We have a total of 10 crews that will be working beginning this morning throughout the city, beginning to collect brush as well as construction debris, household waste that was damaged as part of the storm event. So our contracted crew will start with brush. They'll start in Southeast Temple area. Our city crews will start with brush, with bulk and construction debris. They'll start in Northwest Temple area, and then they'll move clockwise around the community. As I mentioned, we currently have 10 crews working. 6 of those are contracted crews. 4 of them are our city crews. Our city crews are also managing the debris management site. So some of our brush trucks are assigned there. We have 9 additional crews on the way. So there'll be a total of 15 contracted crews and 4 city crews working in the next couple of days. So you'll start seeing a lot of progress in clearing out. We have 2 debris management sites that will be operating One will be burning, clean burn with air curtains near the landfill. And then another will just be a chipping site near the industrial park. We have not yet received the FEMA declaration, but we do expect that today or possibly tomorrow, I think at the latest. We are anticipating that individual assistance will qualify for individual assistance, which means that private citizens, individuals will be eligible for assistance from FEMA. We'll be working with them to set up a disaster recovery center where people can come and make application who've been affected by the storm. So there'll be more information on that in the coming days once we receive the official declaration. Our teams did an exceptional job throughout the last week. Lots of hardworking men and women from the city who have kept all of our water infrastructure up and going. We had no disruption to water service. We had a couple of sewer overflows just based on the very heavy rain events and the power outages at some of our problematic sites that we're already working to address with infrastructure upgrades. So very proud of our public works and police and fire teams. That's on my brain today, sir. I don't really have any other updates. I do look forward to providing, as I think we talked about last month or maybe even the month before, a very comprehensive capital update. But I think that if acceptable to the group, I think that probably should wait till June.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, all the leadership, the city, y'all done, in my opinion, have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Comments I've heard from lots of people, and I think just protecting the subdivision that had lots of loss and
Yes.
looting and all that has just been superb.
Thank you.
Do you have any ideas, Sarah? Probably don't, but just the length of time getting all the brush done, any assessment? Are we talking about weeks, months,
Weeks.
weeks? Okay.
Yeah, I think weeks. The wild card is just what people put out, so we anticipate that, for example, if you drive in South Temple right now, where it's probably the heaviest brush damage, it's just walls and walls of brush. So there's no room on the curb. So we anticipate once we do the first sweep that people are going to be bringing additional brush out. We're planning for that, but just if there's more than in the backyards, then we know, or they take a little bit longer to get out to the curb. But I think it's probably, 6 to 10 weeks.
Does the FEMA designation allow the city to, is it a funding reimbursement or?
Yeah, so there's two parts of FEMA reimbursement: individual assistance, which is what we've been focusing on because it is what provides assistance directly to citizens. So that's, if you've seen our communication about, please fill out this survey, we have to have a certain threshold of damages to private property in order to qualify. We have met all of those thresholds. The governor has signed off and sent the declaration request to FEMA, and they received it. So I believe it's just a matter of time before that is officially signed off on. And then the second part is public assistance, which is for damage to public infrastructure and reimbursement for cost of public response. And so we also need to meet a threshold in order to qualify for that. We will absolutely meet that with no issue. We will be submitting documentation for that as we go along in the next few days. So that will also be something that we will be eligible for. And we have hired a monitoring company who has, which is a requirement for FEMA reimbursement for brush and bulk disposal services. So they arrived in the community yesterday, and they're working closely with us. So I do anticipate that we'll be eligible for a significant amount of our expenditures. If anyone wants to help me fill out forms, there's a lot of, as you might imagine, there's a lot of, they need our veteran production team to come help them. There's a lot of paperwork and hoops to jump through, but we will be able to recover some, but probably a significant amount of our expenditures from FEMA.
does that help insurance companies at all with the concentration of loss? Are they able to recover anything from FEMA, or is it just that's the risk they assume?
I do think there is some, but I'm not an expert in that, so or very knowledgeable at all. So I do think there is some,
Okay.
like backstop insurance or reinsurance, something that helps them, but I don't know the details of that.
Do we need to continue to encourage people to fill out the survey? And if so, will that then lead to more aid, or just we've met the threshold, so we're done? Okay, good.
And one more question, has there been any initial assessment of that, like millions of dollars, tens of millions?
I don't have that information yet.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we are collecting it, but I don't have anywhere near an accurate number, so I wouldn't even venture a guess at this point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Anybody, any other questions? Okay, well, that concludes our agenda. Other than the next item is for our next meeting. It's scheduled for June 26, 2024. And if there's nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you all for being here.